Hello and welcome to Irresistible You Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm your host, Karen Seltz, and we are live in person. I have a special guest with me, Diane Byron. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm so happy to be here.
I know. We're rooming together for a business mastermind. I'm like, hey, Diane, you want to be on my TV show tonight? And of course she said,
of course.
She's like, let me put some lipstick on. Let's do it. So here we are. And we were talking about like what would be a good topic to share with you this time of year that would really serve you. And Diane came up with this idea of maintaining and creating ease and flow during the holidays. And I thought, what better, because so many of us get triggered by everything. Like it's really stressful to be during that, in the holidays, our families, the pressure to buy the perfect gift, to decorate the house. Like the list goes on and on. Some people even send Christmas cards still.
Yep. I get lots of them.
I do too. Well, not as many because I don't ever send them back. But anyways, so we wanted to start by sharing like, what do you recommend, Diane? Well, first, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay.
What you do and how you got here.
Okay, so I am a retired nurse. I am also someone who has managed thyroid cancer for the last 7-8 years. I've been in remission for 5 years, and I also have severe congenital heart defects, and I was born with a 0% chance of life without surgery. And I had surgery from one of the most amazing doctors on the planet, Dr. Superman. His name is really Dr. Supermanian, when I was 2.5, and he saved my life. And ever since then, I've known that there's something I have to give in the world. So first I gave it as a nurse for 25 years. And then I shifted and decided I was on a mission to really support mostly midlife women, just like myself and you and many of our friends, to start putting themselves first, because that is actually when your families thrive, when your relationships thrive, because you're giving everyone the best of you instead of the rest of you.
Ooh, giving everyone the best of you instead of the rest of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it matters, because I watched my mom, who was a very much giver. She took care of her parents. She took care of her husband, my dad, for, the last years of his life. They were married for just under 44 years. When he passed, she lived for another 18. Even though she was the first one to get sick. She had breast cancer. And he said he couldn't live without her. And 8 months later, he was gone.
Wow.
And we could not convince him that she had stage 1 breast cancer. She wasn't going anywhere. But he let his fear overtake him, and he couldn't do anything else but let go. And she spent the next 18 years, even with multiple health issues, thriving. Because for the first time, she wasn't taking care of other people.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? She would intermittently over those last years, she took care of her brother, her younger brother, when he passed in 1999 from a brain tumor. But most of it, she had done her child rearing. She was now in her 70s, and now she's thriving. And I'm like, we are not waiting until we're in our 70s to start thriving.
I love that. So for people like women that give, what's a good starting point? Like, how do they start to prioritize themselves?
Well, the reality is we think it is everything that every guru out there says. Now, every guru, every person that's giving recommendations out there, every influencer has their thing that's important to them. And I'm not dissing any of them, because I think a lot of them have really good points. The problem is for women like me and my mom and many women that I serve, we think in order to do what they say, we have to do this laundry list of ways to take care of ourselves in order to show up for other people. And that's overwhelming. So we'll go headlong into it for a day and a half, a week and a half, and then we're collapsed and we're like back to beyond zero.
Right.
And that doesn't work. So what the most important thing is, just pick one thing, one small thing. I'll give you an example. One of the things that I had in my old job was I worked 18 hours a day, most days, even on the weekends. I was constantly available. And because of the way that the trainings were held, my sleep schedule was erratic. When I decided to prioritize myself, I picked a bedtime.
Mm,
My lights will be out by 10 p.m. That was it. No
yeah.
ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
Yes.
And my daughter, who loves to come in and lay on my bed and talk to me, had to be out of the room by 9:55 so I could have everything quiet. That sounds like such a small thing, but it allowed me to actually wind down on my own, get my rest. So when I got up the next day, more energy.
Yes.
But it took probably at least a month of being consistent before it started to become a routine. It
Right.
doesn't happen like that as much as we would like it to.
I know. Yeah, I love that. So one small thing. And how did you choose bedtime?
I knew from my history of insomnia and my energy levels and the feedback I was getting from people in my life, when I don't have enough sleep, I get cranky
No.
just a little bit. So I took that on and I said, okay, if I can just work on this,
Yeah.
that will allow me to actually have the energy to look at the other things that I get to work on, but just that small thing. So if you're looking at December, because it starts tomorrow, it's perfect time for this conversation. Pick one thing you're going to do every day or 5 times a week. It doesn't even have to be every day, it can be 3 times a week. Just something different that nourishes you. That's important. It's not something you're doing for somebody else. It's not, I'm going to read to my child every night. Great, that's awesome. And you get enjoyment out of it, but that's not nourishing you. This is for you and you alone.
Which leads me to a question. How do you have women handle when they think that they're being selfish if they pour into themselves at all?
Well, I will tell you what happens when you don't pour into yourself is you miss some of the most important times of your life. I had that experience in 2009. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and I ended up in the hospital because I had ignored the symptoms. My husband had lost his job. He had also broken his elbow. So he lost his job in 2008. 2009, he shattered his elbow, and my mother was in the hospital. So they're in the hospital at the same time. And I can't tell my mother that my husband's in the hospital because she's worried. And we have a 7-year-old. And I'm now working full time because he lost his job and he's in school. So I'm running around like a crazy person, chicken with my head cut off. And I end up going to work one day when I knew I shouldn't. I was about the color of the wall behind us, the white behind me. And one doctor looked at me and she's like, why are you even here? I'm like, I can't leave these new nurses by themselves. She was like, oh, that's not happening. And I ended up being diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And that summer, spring and summer, I ended up in the hospital 3 times.
Wow.
And I missed my nephew's first communion and my niece, her confirmation, and I was her sponsor.
Mm.
And then I missed her sister, who was her godmother. I was her godmother. I missed her high school graduation.
Wow.
So when you think about, oh, I'm too selfish, what would it feel like if you missed those moments because you're too tired, your health takes a hit, your mental health takes a hit? None of that is ever more important than you taking care of you.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I was talking with this woman named Carrie today and on the car ride here. And I was saying that it's really a paradigm shift, but for so many people, women that give and give and give, that's a really masculine energy. And it is actually selfish to give and give and give and not allow anyone to pour into you or to not request support. Because the flip side of generosity is receiving. And think about how good you feel when you're able to make a difference for someone. You give to them and they receive it. And you're blocking that for someone else. If you're like, no, thanks, I got it. And I think many of us are guilty of that, of like, no, I got it. I can do it myself. I don't need any help. I don't need any support. I got this. And it takes a lot to be able to say, oh, thank you. Yes, please. That would be amazing if you could carry my groceries out. You don't need it, but accept it because it also tells your subconscious mind that you are worthy.
Right.
You are worthy of receiving, and it allows someone else to feel good. And if you are the one giving, there's an imbalance in your relationship and everybody feels it and they want to balance it out. It doesn't feel good. So there's like a karmic thing too.
I think it's a that, and I actually take it one step further. If someone offers to support you and you say no, you're actually refusing their gift.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's not just like karmic, it's like, what's that person going to say? Like to themselves, wow, I, I guess I'm not valued in her life. I don't matter. That's what you're really telling that person is their help doesn't matter. And one of the best lessons I've had, and I've done some work, and I've been the one that's been running around doing all the things all the time. And someone said something very important to me a few months ago when I was really in a tough place and I got to reach out. She challenged me to go reach out and ask for support. And someone responded when I asked for support, and she said, people are just waiting to love you, Diane. So when we don't allow people to give to us, we're actually telling them their love doesn't matter. And that's not how I want to live my life.
No, no, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, there's so much to that. I just think it makes people feel really good when they can make a difference for you.
And it's also giving an example to other people. When you are the one who does all the things, for example, when you allow someone else to support you, you're actually unconsciously giving permission to other women around you who think they have to be superwoman to keep up with you to say, oh, she's not doing it all alone. I can ask for support too and still be a good mom, still be a good wife, still be a great coach, a great nurse, a great all those things. When you think about life and the best things that happen in life, very rarely are we alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I hosted a Friendsgiving celebration. We had 25 people and everyone's like, what can I do? And years ago, I would have been like, nope, it's all right. I got it. And I'm like, okay, you can do this. And I just delegated and everybody, it was like a well-oiled
Mhm.
machine. And then it truly takes a village. I mean, to get everything out on the table hot at the same time, it was amazing. And I had all kinds of support.
Right.
And I received it. Now, I don't know about you, but when I've done it all myself, I've been really pissed off,
Resentful.
resentful.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. I'd be like, all right, now you guys owe me.
You owe
And
me.
why didn't you read my mind and do these things
Right.
without me asking?
Right. Because that's the other thing. When you're doing things all on your own, it's masculine energy because it's controlling energy.
Yeah.
Supporters are actually some of the most controlling people on the planet when you think about it.
Mhm.
Because what we're doing is we're controlling our environment and everybody in it and how everything should come together. When the reality is, these people who are around us are very capable. We similarly had a Friendsgiving. We actually had a spreadsheet because I live my life with analyzers, and we had a spreadsheet. And it was great because we had 5 people cooking, 5 or 6 people cooking different things, and everything blended together perfectly, hot at exactly the right time. Everything worked out. And that's the beauty of being willing to ask for support.
Yeah, I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say there's one other thing that I think really makes a difference creating ease and flow. And just to make sure you're keeping up, you want to do one thing. If there's one thing you want to change or that you want to make a difference, nourish yourself, do one thing every day or however long you choose. Be willing to ask for support. And the third is look for gratitude and be gratitude. I did a series last year about how I actually don't believe in the attitude of gratitude because that's just words.
Mm.
Gratitude is more than an attitude, it's active. So it's not just writing your list because we all have that, you know, advice. Write your gratitude list, write 5 things you're grateful for. Great. That's a start. But you also want to like be present to how you feel as you're writing it and really getting clear on, oh, Why am I grateful for that? Why does that matter? We had the most amazing brisket at Thanksgiving. It wasn't about the brisket. It's about the fact that my best friend and her husband packed his smoker on the back of their truck and drove from Utah to San Diego to make brisket for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
It wasn't about the brisket. It was about the fact that we were all together.
Yeah.
Right? So you really want to look at, why is this important to me? Why does this matter? And feel it here. Because if you're just writing it off a list, it becomes something you check off. And gratitude is not something just to check off your list.
No. Yeah. Then it's a why bother.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing.
It's not about the brisket.
It's never about the brisket.
But it is about the brisket.
Okay.
was
So
really
yeah, it just reminds me of, I say this all the time, but what you focus on expands. So when you are looking for, like this is parenting, for example, when you're looking for your kids to do something well, and you're looking to catch them in the act of doing something well, you're going to find it. But if you're looking for them to mess up, you're also going to find it. Same for your partners or your workers, your employees.
Absolutely.
Life,
everything. If you're looking for
Drivers.
traffic, like I drove up here from San Diego to Irvine, and I actually was like, I'm going to have a smooth trip. And I did. I had hit traffic. Yes. But you know what? It was not the normal traffic. And I was like, how did I make it here in an hour and a half? That's very rare.
Yeah. That's
Right?
amazing. It's so beautiful. And it applies to everything. Like I did a video the other night because I realized, wow, that was really good progress for me. So let me tell you what happened. So I was writing a blog for the place I went to coaching school, and I hit the wrong button. Instead of hitting a back button, I hit the refresh button. And I was like flowing. I was like writing and writing. I don't even know how long I was writing. Long time. And I refreshed the page and it was gone. But immediately I'm like, I just started laughing. I'm like, okay. So then, because I know there are no accidents and I live my life that way. Okay. So I'm like, okay, what was that for? I'm like, all right, Karen, who was writing that? I'm like, me, like the ego self was writing it. It was not channeled. I didn't say a prayer. I didn't say, speak through me, which I do always. And so it was like pure ego. And so it was taken care of for me. Like everything happened for me. So I'm like, okay, I will redo that later. And I'm going to do it a different way. Exactly. I'm going to copy and paste it from a Google Doc. So
you don't lose it next time.
Again.
Got it. And I will give you one more tip if I may.
Yes.
This popped in. It goes back to the brisket and my best friend. Last year, it's start your questions with what if? What if it's easy? What if money flows into me if you're a business owner? What if that relationship? What if I don't find, I attract my ideal partner? What if my dog walk is amazing to them? What if my kid does amazing at school? Because literally the whole reason my best friend was out here from Utah was because last year, my other best friend, we're a trio, she decorates like Mrs. Griswold for Christmas. Her side yard, the day after Thanksgiving, everything outside, there is more light. You could land a chopper on her roof for wheels. And last year we did it because our kids were working. And our best friend was like, wouldn't it be great if we came out? Wouldn't it be great? What if we were out there helping you decorate? And it started with a what if conversation. It was like, what if? And then it was like, well, what if we bring the smoker? What if we come a day early? What if we, like, everything was a what if? What if we have game night? What if I bring this? And we had the most amazing 4 days together. So it's really being a possibility, asking yourself, what if?
Yes. And, our business coach, James Wedmore, says the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions you ask. And it's starting like that. And I had a conversation about if you're asking yourself why questions about your past, or you're asking anybody else, what feelings does that evoke? It's like shame and guilt or whatever, but it's like there's an implied, like you messed it up, you should have done it different. So just noticing the quality of your questions, what type of questions, and what does it feel like in your body when you ask those questions? Like, what if is expansive? What if what if it does work out? What if this? What if that? Whereas it'd be like, why'd you do that? Dumbass. I mean, that's like, for me, that's like what I hear in my head. Like, there's the negative voice.
It's what if. What if I spend this time doing this because it lights me up, because it nourishes me, because it takes care of me? What if?
Exactly. I love it. What if?
What if?
So what if you created ease and flow this holiday season and took it into the new year? What if? What if? What would that feel like?
It would be amazing. I'm doing it.
I'm doing it too. Well, I kind of live that way.
You do.
Most of the time. She does. She does. Well, thank you so much for watching. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Do you have anything coming up?
No, I would just like to say this. If you are thinking about how do I make someone else's Christmas easier, holiday easier, whatever, again, pick one thing. It can be the simplest thing.
What if it's your nose?
I wouldn't do that. But what I would do is tip the workers at Starbucks or wherever they're working a little bit more. Don't do that, pay it forward. That drives them crazy, and it's very hard for them to actually keep track of. Yes. It's much because if you're buying your Starbucks, you can afford to buy your Starbucks. Right. But you know who's working really hard to get your Starbucks? The people working at Starbucks. Sure. Or Dunkin' Donuts. I'm a Boston Yankee, so I like Dunkin's. Anything like that. But look at how can you make someone else's day go great. Please be nice to folks in the retail industry. That's what I will say. Wow. My daughter works at a grocery store. She had a really rough week last week because it was Thanksgiving. So be nice, be pleasant.
That reminds me of a story.
Yeah.
So I went into Trader Joe's the day before Thanksgiving, and our cashier, you could tell she was like not happy. Like, I'm like, what's going on? Are like people being mean? So I'm like, how's your day? And she just looks at me like, do you really have to effing ask? Right. And I'm like, I can take it. Just tell me. She's like, why do people wait to the very last minute to come in? And I'm like, yeah. I said, well, we're hosting in 2 days, but I hear you. And what can I do to make your life easier? And she just like, I said something else. And then my daughter's like, I really love how you matched your eyeshadow to your shirt. And she's like, you guys are all right. So she picked up like some candies, and she's like to my daughter, can you catch? And my daughter's like, yeah. So she like tossed her the candies, and like she was happy. So just, being friendly it makes a difference.
Right. So give them a smile, say thank you. Someone walked up to my daughter when she was working the day before Thanksgiving. You look so tired. And she texts me and she goes, and he was the reason I was tired because he's shopping with a full cart. So the reason I'm sharing that with you, it's not just because my daughter works in the grocery store or anything like that. It's not about the presents. It's not about the gifts. It's not about the cards. It's actually about the people and the experiences. It's really about seeing people and really looking at them as people, not as a vehicle to get us something. Yeah, right? So that allows ease and flow, because guess what happens when your cashier smiles? Your daughter gets candy. Her next person in line gets a smile. Right. Yeah. And the bagger doesn't get yelled at. Like, it's a trickle and a ripple. And let's create a ripple of kindness and joy this year instead of irritation and running around trying to keep up with the Joneses. I don't try to keep up with the Joneses. I had the smallest tree I've ever had in my life. And I'm so happy because it takes like 10 minutes to decorate it. Nice. Because I just want to enjoy it. Beautiful. And that's the goal.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Diane. This was a blast.
I enjoyed it.
I've been trying to get her on my show, but I had to get her in my hotel room first.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get a hold of, apparently, sometimes.
And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right here next week on Irresistible You.
All right, take care. Bye.